All right, well, in the last episode of American Artifact, we introduced a new segment that we are calling What's New at the Museum, because there are constantly new artifacts that are coming in here at the Gettysburg Museum of History. Now, last one, we were focusing on some Confederate artifacts from the Civil War. This one is going to be a little bit more World War II, a little bit of a hodgepodge, but all interesting.
Back at my office at the annex to the Gettysburg Museum of History, and I pulled out a few more items that have recently come into the museum. Now, none of these items are on display yet. They will be part of the new museum expansion, and I'm going to keep teasing you guys with some of this stuff, so you can be, in tune with what's happening and have an idea of what you're going to see when the new museum finally opens. But we're just going to feature a few random items here, and each one has a pretty interesting story. I'm going to start with this. This is pretty bizarre. Now, we usually don't get too many British items, but this was just too unusual to pass up, and I think it tells a story. This is a 1938 baby gas mask, and the way it worked was you put your infant inside of this hood, and you strapped his legs through here, and I believe you could carry it on your back or carry the baby. The legs would come out here, and there's straps that would attach, and your baby could see out this window. But then there's a bellow here that had some kind of a filter, I guess, and it was supposed to save your baby from a gas attack. You can't really put a typical gas mask on an infant because they pull it off, or the different sizes, and this was a way of kind of enclosing the baby into a supposedly safe environment. Very bizarre, and thank God they didn't have to use them. Chemical warfare is a very, very brutal way to die, and the amount of protection you needed from it was unbelievable. But anyway, a very unique relic from World War II, and the British experienced the Blitz, and it was always a fear that the Germans would use chemical warfare, but thank God they didn't.
So my favorite artifacts include the souvenir and bring back items from World War II. And this is an item that just recently came into the museum. As a matter of fact, it's so fresh that we haven't had time to research it and know exactly what it is, but it's an instrument from some Japanese aircraft. Here you can see on the top, got a data plate with some Japanese writing on it. So this is something that some soldier or sailor or Marine would have got a hold of and thought that it was pretty neat, and either brought it back or sent it back home as a memento from their time in the war. And we also have this crate right here. Now, when guys were sending souvenir items back home, they had to grab whatever they could in order to send the package back. And some soldier from the 32nd Infantry Division, while he was on the Philippines, got a hold of this crate and repurposed it as a package to send some items home. And you can see the Japanese writing there. What people may or may not know is that I can actually read Japanese, at least with my phone and Google Translate. So the best that we were able to come up with as far as a translation is that this was a crate that held fuses for Japanese death charges. And some guy from the 32nd got a hold of it and decided to use it to send some pretty interesting stuff back home.
We're going to take a look in this depth charge fuse box, and this is really interesting to me as well because it's literally a time capsule. A lot of times with bring home boxes, some things have been taken out of it, and you know, there's things missing, but I believe this is pretty much complete. And it has the name on the front here. It's really hard to see, but I'm going to flip it over because it also has the shipping address and the soldier's name on the back here. And so he was shipping it, I believe, to his mother. And these were gifts. A lot of mail home boxes will have war booty or war trophies, you know, like bayonets and daggers and flags and things like this. This is mostly items you might want to give to your mother. A lot of this is souvenir items from the Philippines, I believe. There's another name there on the box. But this is a lot of feminine items to mother in the Philippines, and it has his divisional patch there. So he would, you know, they sold these things. The locals would sell these to the soldiers, and they could buy them. And so that's like a sweetheart thing, but it was really for his mother. There's a few newspaper articles in here from the Stars and Stripes, which was the military newspaper that he sent home. And this smells like mothballs big time. So there were mothballs in here at one point. Here's another flag. I mean, this is some kind of signal flag. Boy, that really smells. And it's Japanese. It has the Japanese characteristics on it right here. So this was probably off of a ship or something like that. And there is a Japanese, really thin Japanese flag in here as well, made of silk.
Wow, that is thin.
Yeah. This is an apron, I guess. Or no. It's been a while since I looked at this. It just came in, but I kind of like looked at it quick and put it away. Yeah, not exactly sure what that is, but he sent it home to his mom. And here's a basket type thing, or a purse that says Philippines 1945, and made out of grass that was dried out. Yeah, and this is pretty bizarre. These are some of the sandals they would make, the natives would make and sell to tourists for his mother, like slippers. And here's a pair of really funky pumps with like carved village motif on there, which is just really wild. And the paint almost looks like something hippies would wear in the 60s. You'd see this like at Woodstock or something. But this is 1945 Philippines. And again, a great gift for your mother. And there's also a bag in here. And in the bag is a whole bunch of seashells. And I guess he thought it would be cool to send some seashells from the beach back. I don't know exactly what kind they are, but they're a whole bunch of them. So he's probably went up on a beach and there was a bunch, and there's different sizes as well. And there's another paper in here. I guess maybe that was just to line the bottom of it. I'm not sure. But again, I'm like getting lightheaded because of the mothball smell that's coming off of this right now, and now the whole office is going to smell like that. But again, it's a really neat time capsule. I believe it's complete. I mean, it fits in there snugly, so I believe that all the stuff was originally with it, and that was all that was in there. He would have put these items in, nailed it shut, and mailed it home to his mother. Item that literally just came into the museum is this helmet. And I was really excited about this just because of the rarity of this item. This is a German helmet, double decal army helmet with the national shield here and the eagle on this side. And what's interesting about it to me is it was painted camouflage, snow camouflage. And most of these in the collector's world are fake. I mean, they've been repainted. We know this is real. We know what collection this came out of. And this was actually recovered in Russia about 25 years ago. And in Russia, some of the soils there have a really different consistency where it's almost like a gray clay. And sometimes artifacts like this, when they get buried or they get recovered, they're in this really I don't know the scientific way to describe it, but it keeps water out of there. It keeps relics from oxidizing. Now this does have a little bit of rust or oxidation on it, but hardly any. And it also sometimes preserves the leather, which is just insane to me. Because the same helmet, if it would have been in the ground for 20 or 30 years in Western Europe, it would be rusted and this liner would be pretty much disintegrated. But it's still even kind of flexible, and it almost looks like an unexcavated helmet, but believe me, it was excavated. And another interesting feature, is snow camouflage. A lot of times they painted over the decals, and this one must have been an old veteran or something, because sometimes with the older guys they would paint around them, and it was almost like a badge of honor, I guess, that they'd been in for a while. But the purpose of camouflage was to keep you unseen, and a lot of times this was painted right over, but this was not exposed. Also in the collector's world, you'll see sometimes where people have removed the paint around the decals, and usually when you see that, you can see evidence of that, and in this case there is no evidence of that. The whitewash paint was painted around these decals. Again, a very rare artifact to find. I've always wanted a double decal snow cam, but up until now, this is the first time we've been able to get one. And we were able to buy a few helmets out of that collection, and this is the one we kept for the museum. Just an extraordinarily well-preserved German relic helmet. Another item that just came into the museum is this really neat Vietnam hat. It was direct embroidered. Now we wanted to start featuring a lot more Vietnam, and we do a lot with World War II and the Civil War on this series, but we wanted to start showing some of the Vietnam items. And again, we don't have this stuff in the museum yet. These are items that are going to go in the new museum. We're going to have a Vietnam display. This is direct embroidered. It's what they call a boony hat, and then it has a unit patch on the top. Now it also has some embroidery inside, or actually it's a transfer from the outside, but you can see how it's direct embroidered. Now you could go to the tailor shops in Vietnam and Saigon, or sometimes they would go on leave to Thailand or places like that and get these done. But this is really unique because it has an old note inside, and I'm just going to read it. It says, "Light Helicopter Attack Squadron, Hail 3. First armed helicopter squadron ever commissioned in the U.S. Navy. UH-1B Huey Seawolves, HQ Vung Tau, 1967. So this is actually a Navy attack helicopter, and it's just pretty rare, and I just like when they would decorate these things, it has the guy's name, I guess, Killin on there. But it's a typical Vietnam boony hat, and again, decorated, and it has some history to it and some pretty interesting artwork.
All right, well, there you go. Those are just a few of the newer items that have been added to the collection here at the Gettysburg Museum of History. Glad to share these things. If you're ever in Gettysburg, definitely stop at this place and check it out for yourself.